Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural coffee talk to talk about loan data. My name is Sean O'Brien, the president of QuickRate, and today pleased to be joined by David Littleton. David, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? I think you're on mute though right at the moment.
Yeah, I'm David Littleton. I work with IntelliCredit. So I'm one of the founding members of IntelliCredit, and whenever a new bank or credit union or client gets onboarded onto our software and our products, I am the lead point of contact for that. And so I engage with all of our new clients, and that's my role.
Awesome. Thank you, David. So as David mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about IntelliCredit today. So many of you may have heard from us on IntelliCredit through our quarterly webinars with David Ruffin. You might have participated in a loan review webinar. You may have seen at the end of the year a couple of portfolio analyzer webinars that we did. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before we get there, just a couple of reminders. Again, if you have questions today, please submit them in the Q&A box or the chat feature. I'll be monitoring those and taking those throughout the presentation. Secondly, we will send out a link to today's recording with a copy of the slides and a link to the recording of it as well. So why are we here? So again, I think what we've seen with our coffee talks is we felt like this was a really effective way, kind of an informal way to build knowledge and understanding, in that case, around CECL. And we believe there's an opportunity here with IntelliCredit as well. I think our premise, or my premise, is simply this, right? I think whenever anyone has better data, better access to their data, better ease of use of their data, ultimately that leads to better processes and better decisions. I firmly believe that. We believe the tool we've built here at IntelliCredit can help banks better manage their loan data. There's a lot of different applications in how you can use that. You've certainly heard us talk about it, how it can better your loan review, but there's things internally that we believe can assist you as well, whether that's internal reviews, annual reviews, just analyzing and digging and organizing your portfolio, gaining access to more loan level data. All of these things we think are within your reach, and we think our tool brings it to you in a way that makes it very easy, affordable to do. But we also recognize the practical reality is anytime you're thinking about making a commitment around something like this, there's always trepidation. So we thought with the coffee talks, what we're going to try to do is relieve some of those trepidations. We're going to begin this series where we come on. It may not be every month initially, but every other month, and talk about a little bit what the tool can do, how to get your data organized, whether it's IntelliCredit or maybe some other area of the bank, how it can benefit you. And our hope is through this format, we can help better share what other banks are doing and how they're using our tool, but also illustrate to you how we think it can positively impact what you're doing in terms of credit administration at the bank today. So, that's our challenge. We really appreciate you showing up here today to learn a little bit more. And I thought today was interesting. I made the slide this morning kind of in the wake of the news last night and today around New York Community Bank. So New York Community Bank's certainly been in the news for the last 3 or 4 months. But, there were some findings yesterday. They replaced their CEO and some board members. But, some of the regulatory findings were talking about material weaknesses in internal controls. And one of the ways those weaknesses were exposed was through their internal loan reviews. And the regulators, position was, this was really a result of ineffective oversight, risk assessment, and monitoring activities. A lot of times this can be because we don't have good processes and or availability of our own information to improve those processes. So I think this is an example of some of the ways where we think our portfolio analyzer tool can really assist a bank. And so I thought it was timely. So I wanted to touch on that here today. So whenever we're going to talk about loan data and analytics around that data, the conversation really starts with your data. And so that's where we're going to start, our conversation today. And now I'm going to, as I should, be quiet and let David Littleton really start to inform you about what IntelliCredit can do. David?
Yep. So I will take the screen here. Perfect. So to continue the, why is loan data important? So loan data is your DNA. It's who you are. And as banks and as credit unions, understanding who you are and proactively mastering that understanding of your loan data and of your DNA is critically important to portfolio management, obviously. But digging a little deeper, utilizing that data, utilizing the loan data that you have to transition from the what about your portfolio to the why, and to the where were we and where are we now, and how we got here. Obviously, regulators are a major part of all of our lives, and the conversations we have with them can be better facilitated by understanding the loan data. Portfolio anecdotes are very important, and as many loans, or every loan has a story behind it, but understanding the concrete data and the aggregate trends, particularly in various concentrations of the portfolio, can really aid in and lubricate those conversations that you have with your regulators. And so we're going to take a quick look at Portfolio Analyzer just to introduce the product to you. So let me tab over here. So here we are. So this is the IntelliCredit Portfolio Analyzer. For those who are unfamiliar with IntelliCredit, IntelliCredit is a web-based platform that has this portfolio analytics tool on it, as well as some other features as well, but we're just obviously focusing on the loan data in this portfolio analytics tool currently. So this tool gives you instant value from day one. So the reports that we're looking at right now, and I'm just going to click through these very quickly, are all reports that you get immediately from day one of setup within the portfolio analyzer. And all of these reports are interactive, so you can see trends that are occurring in the portfolio, and easily drill down from the what to the why, as I just described. So I can see a change that we're observing in a non-pass category. I can drill into that figure and see what loans are impacting that change, what loans used to be in non-pass, were upgraded out of non-pass, and how we got to the bottom line figure of that change value. And I'll go into more detail in some of these areas in just a bit. But these are the standard reports that you get in the Portfolio Analyzer, again, from day one. Additionally, we give you various ways to build your own reports. Of course, each institution has specific and unique ways they like to look at their data. So we have a query tool that allows you to query loans in the portfolio based on any set of data metric that you would like, and essentially build a report that suits your specific needs, and obviously multiple reports. And then there's also a pivot table tool that works just like pivot tables in Excel, where you can very easily create aggregation data reports, whereas the query tool we looked at a moment ago is geared towards returning a list of loans within a particular query criteria. The pivot table tool is based around building a report that aggregates data and views concentration within groups of various types of loans. For example, here we have a weighted average term remaining report that I just pulled up. And just not to go too deep in the custom reporting, those are the two main features there. We also have a template builder where you can customize the layout that you're looking at here, as well as various other charts and reports that you can customize and then build from the ground up as well. So pivoting back over to the slideshow here. So getting started. Getting started into IntelliCredit is extremely easy. IntelliCredit, really all we need is an Excel-based version of your loan data, and that can be a file you use, a CECL file, the ILDR file, or any other loan data file in Excel format. And then, of course, your risk grade scale, which should be fairly easy to obtain. And then any code mappings you may have that would help us understand the data that's in the loan tape. And really, that's it. The requirements to get up and running on this system are very, very low, and the process, again, is very simple. So once we obtain that information from you, we will configure upload settings and load those files for you, as well as many historical files as you would like to have. And then we'll conduct training and have all your users on the system from day one. Very, very simple. And then we have a shared administration period where during that period, it's essentially just a commitment to heightened customer service and product support while you are getting familiar with the tool. And we help you, of course, become an expert on your data and on your DNA.
Hey, David, just if we can pause for a second. I just wanted to emphasize, just in the previous demonstration David did of the analyzer, again, you saw, data in the system. I think one of the reasons why we said, hey, we need to do these coffee talks, we need to do a free trial, because there is getting that data into the system does take a little bit of time. We hear repeatedly from banks of where they have purchased a potential software service or application and didn't feel like they were able to get to the point where they could fully utilize it. We do not want that to happen here, and we do not want that to be a concern for our customers. Part of the reason for the trial is to, again, as David's discussing, is to get your data, to get you comfortable with it so that you can actively evaluate whether this tool can help you or not. And it's all predicated on your data. If you have the more data you get in the tool, there's going to be more that you can do. And that's a process. It doesn't happen, as David was touching on, overnight. And so we want to work with you to make sure we get the data in a format that you can use effectively, your team can use effectively. And as David said, the shared administration goes a long way to making sure you can go from walking to running with the tool, in a very short period of time. All right, David, sorry. Back to you.
No, thanks a bunch. And so one practical consideration of this setup period, meaning the time before training and then the brief period of time immediately thereafter. What I find in my experience of working with clients is oftentimes their experience with their data in IntelliCredit for the first several weeks or even potentially longer than that is they learn a lot, not only about their portfolio itself, but about the way that the data is representing that portfolio. And that leads to really healthy discussions around what should change potentially in the core system, ways that IntelliCredit can represent that data more effectively. We have lots of flexibility in the way that we interpret and display the data with IntelliCredit, and those are conversations that we have, as well as simply adding data points to that loan file that's being uploaded. We can, we may start with, let's say 80 to 100 data fields, and then over time, you may say we want to add these additional fields, and all of that is very normal and frankly expected as part of this setup period, and even at any point in the future, we can always add additional fields to IntelliCredit and to the upload that we are facilitating. And then post-implementation, sort of longer term here, we have a very simple upload process. Once we have all of those nuts and bolts configured from the IntelliCredit end in the setup, you're able to upload data as frequently as you would like to into the system. So you can, and it's just a drag and drop, click upload process. And we recommend doing that at least every month end, but there's really no limitation on how frequently you would do that. It's really fully your discretion. And then that's when you can begin, of course, building your custom reports, and that we'll get into a little bit more in detail later. And then, of course, the bottom line, becoming an expert on your data and on your specific loan portfolio. So I want to get into a couple more concrete examples in the analyzer of how we analyze the portfolio. So we want to know where we were and where we are now, and evaluate emerging concentrations. So if I pivot back into the analyzer, so I teased this credit overview page that shows you change that's happening between two selected periods. So the currently selected periods are quarter end dates that I have here. But you can always customize exactly which dates you want to compare and see the change figures, which I demonstrated a little earlier. And you can even just click on the 27 new loans and easily represent or easily view the loan and see the loans that have been added to the portfolio within the periods and removed, and curtailments and draws and so forth. This is a little bit of a simplistic data set, so we have a simple calculation here. So that's evaluating the portfolio between two periods. Now, beneath here, I created this report before the call today. This is a custom report that I created. And so I created each of these rows that show the weighted average LTV for each of these individual concentration areas. And now these rows could be any specific concentration that you have in your portfolio, and you could display any data point. I'm showing LTV because I think it's an interesting metric, but you could easily show days past due, balance, or any other value that you have in your data. And then this displays that weighted average LTV over the selected time period. So I can easily see within each concentration, how's my weighted average LTV changing over time. And in this case, it's pretty flat and pretty consistent amongst the concentrations that I've selected. But this is a very easy way for you to see of a custom concentration, a custom data point, and see how that data point in that concentration is changing over time. Further, the next one here is loan quality indicators chart. So this breaks down the portfolio by any given metric you would like. By default, it's showing the FFIEC code, but I can also show this by industry, for example, you can even add to this list of data fields that we want to stratify by. But then we're showing just simple loan count, balance, exposure, growth rates in each category, percentage that are non-pass and non-accrual and past due. And so this is just a report that allows you to stratify the portfolio and view the credit quality within individual concentrations. And again, you can adjust which data stratification you want on this page. And again, I want to encourage you, if you have any questions as we're hopping through this, we want this to be as conversational as the audience would like. So if you would like to give any input or have a question, want us to dig deeper anywhere, feel more than free to interject in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, David, I'm just going to touch on there again. Going back, to showing those emerging trends and being able to show, trends over time, right? If you think back even for CECL, right? A lot of times when we see a past due through the call report, it's already obviously happened, right? So we're a little bit rear view mirror looking. Part of what this allows you to potentially see is emerging risks, right? Is your portfolio changing shape, right? What are the growth rates? What are the growth rates maybe within a concentration? What are my risk rates? Are they migrating in a particular category? As David said, are my LTVs changing? This just, again, it makes it an easy way for you to kind of get underneath the hood a little bit and start to see over time very quickly what trends you might have. And so that also illustrates the point of the more data you have, the better the tool gets. And so certainly, we're talking about, if you began, certainly moving data going forward, but if you do have access to historical data, you can access that as well and upload it into into the analyzer and even build more robustness immediately. And so again, we're trying to get you away from having to rely on generating core reports or things like that to get data out of your system. One big data upload now kind of gives you a mastery of your data. All right, I'll be back to being quiet.
Yeah, so again, it's about turning raw data into actionable information and writing your own script, particularly to have that narrative prepared when your regulator, comes around. And staying ahead of stress markers, as Sean just alluded to, call report information is obviously lagging to a significant degree. And staying ahead of the stress markers means being able to drill down, being able to see as soon as something goes past due, or even before its risk rate is even migrated, being able to see that ahead of time through the data, and of course knowing your credit profile better than your regulators. So one example I'll give for this and staying ahead of your stress markers is, well, Sean mentioned the risk grade migration. So this report here, where we can view risk migration between periods in the portfolio. So this is showing, of course, the distribution of risk, and I can show this by balance percentage as well. So I can easily see what the distribution of the risk in the portfolio was by balance between in each of these selected periods, and I can select more than 2 periods if I would like to. I'll just leave it at 2. But then by overlaying the distributions, I can observe the migration. So we're looking at a decrease, a flattening of the curve in this case to a certain degree, a shift out of 3 and into 1, 2, and 5 and 6 as well. And then staying ahead of the stress markers. So this non-pass loans report, one area that I like a lot is this tracks the change in weak pass in the portfolio. This is an area of the portfolio that doesn't necessarily always get the attention that it deserves, I suppose, is that we spend a lot of time talking about special mention and classified loans, especially when it comes to call report information, but tracking changes in weak pass. So in this particular example, for weak pass loans, I can see we've had a $3 million increase in weak pass, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing potentially. If I click on the value, it's going to break down how we got here. So we had 5 loans added to weak pass, and then 1 loan added downgraded from out of weak pass into special mention. So I'd say overall, this is not necessarily cause for alarm, but it allows you to know, are these loans that were upgraded out of classified or special mention into weak pass, or were they from pass into weak pass? In this case, many of these were formerly pass loans. So it's about understanding the direction of the change in the portfolio. Like I mentioned, the uptick in weak pass could mean various things, and being able to click on that figure and see the loans that are impacting that is how you get from that what into the why of changes within each particular area. And of course, we do the same thing for special mention and classified loans, as well as the general pass category as well. Yeah, so we've touched on this a little bit. So providing insight into portfolio segments and niches and concentrations. We don't want to stop at just total portfolio analysis, and we want to be able to drill into particular concentrations. So the number one way that we obviously we have a number of ways to do this in IntelliCredit, one of which I just illustrated through the stratification of the portfolio by any group of metrics that you would like. But one way that I can show this, let me show this report by loan officer, for example. So I have the breakdown of loan officer here, and I'm showing the credit quality per loan officer. Let's say I wanted to show only my new origination loans. It would be as easy as creating a new filter and saying telling the system to only show me loans that were originated after a particular date. And then, oops, I hit escape there accidentally. But I can say, show me only loans that were originated after a particular date, and hit apply. And so now I'm showing, instead of the 816 loans in the total portfolio, now I'm showing the same analysis, but filtered down to only the loans that meet my query conditions. I could also add another filter and say, show me loans that are only part of my CRE portfolio, for example. So I'm looking at new originations that are CRE, and hit apply. And so now I'm filtered down to just 89 loans in the portfolio. And this filter capability is only limited by your data and your imagination. It's this makes it very, very easy to get the same reporting that we do for the portfolio level, but drilled into or filtered down to a particular subset of the portfolio that you have some peculiar interest in. Further, so these filters can be applied at the meta level, of course, but you can also apply filters to one particular object. So if I want to add a filter here and configure it in a similar way to what I just had. And hit apply. And then let's say I want to see this, but I want to juxtapose it with something. I can duplicate this report, and now I have two versions of the same report. And let's say I want to, instead of showing owner occupied CRE in the second one, I want to show just C&I, for example, and I can hit apply. And so now one chart above is showing the breakdown by loan officer of new originations that are CRE, and the chart below is broken down by loan officer, showing the new originations that are just C&I. So without getting too deep into all the various customizations and things you can do here, hopefully I illustrated for you how easy it is to drill into the data that you want to see and format it and stratify it in the way that's useful to the analysis that you're trying to do at your bank or credit union. And let's see, the final section here is very important, of course. So thus far, we've highlighted the web-based interactive nature of all this data and being able to drill in and customize your reports and so forth. But at the end of the day, in the banking industry, it's important to take things offline. And so we have this big generate report button in the header where we can very easily create a pretty PDF. So if I just create a cover page really quickly and download this report, after about 10 seconds or so, I will have a nice pretty PDF in my downloads folder that it would include any customization that I had made on the web page. But again, it just makes it makes it easy to convert into that PDF board report based on, of course, either the IntelliCredit standard reports that we're looking at now, or any custom reports or custom changes that you make on the page. All right. So I'm still open to take any questions. Of course, as we mentioned, we are offering a 6-month free trial where you get to test drive the application using, of course, your actual data, and we'll provide training and the support that we outlined on the earlier slide. And if you would like any information, you can email info@quickrate.com or go to info.intellicredit.com /get-started. With that, Sean, I'll hand it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, David. And and I think again, as you can see, from David's discussion here, and I should have kept moving my slides forward, so I apologize. Let me move these forward, and I do see we have a question come in here, so I'm going to grab that as soon as I catch up here. I should have been doing that. Okay. How hard is it to include geography for CRA, in and out of market? David, do you want to
Very easy. Very easy. So, I mean, I could take the screen and illustrate it again, but just as easily as you saw me change between industry and FFIEC code, I could very easily change between industry and state or zip code, MSA, whatever data point it is that you have that defines your geography. That would be very simple. And we even have ways for you to aggregate your geography. So let's say you had some sort of data point that defined geography, such as state, for example, but you wanted to group together New Mexico and Arizona, just for example. We would even allow you to do that, where you can say, this is my or particular zip codes and so forth. Essentially, it's very easy to do that, and you would have a lot of flexibility in exactly how you wanted to display that geography as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to highlight the fact, again, the only thing typically that's going to restrict you is your data, right? So again, if you have zip codes and just more granular data of how you want to sort your portfolio, part of that's what we worked through during the trial, right? Is to make sure you get the data you want, make sure you're putting it into your core system in a way that's consistent that you can use. But it's also kind of the gift that keeps on giving, is that once you start to use the tool, that question of, can I do this, really, again, is typically only going to be constrained by your data. So the more you get in, the more you're going to get out. And so I think that's part of, again, just reinforcing the reason why we're willing to take this time in the free trial to not only make sure you got the data you want and need, but then, kind of an iterative way, just teach you more and get you more comfortable with how to mine your own data, so that you can really fully utilize the tool to its maximum value. So to that end, right, just to touch on, and certainly, Michael, thank you for the question. We have, banks using it. You may have seen these earlier webinars we did with Zane and Mitch, but if not, they are out on our resources videos. So we have a link to those as well. Certainly, as we've touched on, if you have any questions or anything else, continue to submit them. I do want to show this slide. We show this in almost all of our, CECL coffee talks, our quarterly webinars, but I hope now, you can start to bifurcate what we're really doing here. So a lot of times when we talk about IntelliCredit, many of our banks just think, oh, you're just doing loan review. And that's true. We are doing external loan review, but the solution, which you can see on the left, has a tremendous amount of resources for you internally at the bank. We will continue to use the tool, with our loan review clients, but, there's an annual review function, a smart loan review, the analyzer that David's talking about. So again, part of these coffee talks are we're going to continually, increase what we show you, talk to you about other applications, how banks are using it, but again, do it in a way that hopefully will be digestible, and again, not having you feel like you won't be able to get to the level to master this tool, right? It is very straightforward and we think easy to use, but it is, it takes a little time. So we want to, kind of, go along with you, as David said, the shared administration, to make sure we make you a power user as quickly as we can. I think it's important to note we are not integrating to the core, so that makes the data upload that we're talking about much easier, much more in our control. Really, typically what we're going to, start with, again, is an ask to get data out of the core. And then, David and the team at IntelliCredit are going to go to work with you to make sure the data is consistent, it's there. And then, again, start to pique that interest of what else might be out there that you have or may not be tracking, but you may want to in the future. So again, just as David pointed out, a couple of reminders: info@quickrate.com, info@intellicredit.com to get started. We'd certainly welcome the opportunity to show you more. Increasingly, we are as we do more webinars, more coffee talks, we've got some of these out on YouTube. I think David and the team at IntelliCredit, are really effective in using Loom videos and Zoom clips to try to teach you how to do different things. So again, it's going to be a very interactive process, again, to try to raise your your understanding of how to use the tool as quickly as you can. But we certainly encourage you to check out, this link for the YouTube's pages for any historical videos or webinars that might be of assistance to you. Just a reminder again, we've been at this with IntelliCredit for a few years now. 75 active clients in 27 states, over 100 loan reviews last year. I think the loan reviews, have done a couple of things for us. One, obviously it highlights, any, ongoing credit concerns that we want to be mindful and we try to share with you during our quarterly discussions, but it's also hardened our tool. It's improved it. We've seen how, it can be more effective in not only loan review, but then internally with the bank. So we gain a lot, from the loan reviews, not only for the review itself, but in also identifying ways that we can make all of the internal tools more effective, how to improve the data upload process, the management process. And so again, we're going to continue to do loan reviews, but the focus of our coffee talks are really going to be on the application and how you can use that tool internally. All right, we do have a couple of upcoming events. We will have another CECL Coffee Talk at the end of March. We will be back in May with the second edition of our loan data coffee talks. So certainly, anything you'd like us to potentially discuss in a future one. I think again, you can kind of see this is going to be somewhat of a quasi, user group, as we move forward. But we will show other applications, on the tool. And I just, again, we look forward to coming to you right now, again in May. David, any final comments or thoughts or words for our group before we let them get to their Friday?
No, just looking forward to working with you in the free trial period and getting your data up in IntelliCredit and getting you started.
Great. Well, if there aren't any other further questions, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you found it helpful. Hopefully you found it interesting enough to take us up on our free trial. As David said, we'd welcome the opportunity to work with you. Certainly give us a call, email us at info@quickrate.com or at intellicredit.com, and we will look forward to seeing you again in the months ahead. Thanks so much again, and have a great weekend. Bye now.